You're welcome back to Watching Biz this morning here on Channels Television. It's commodities time now, and we have joining us for that Bolanle Agbaje, Senior Analyst of Financial Derivatives Company. She's in the studio here. I want to start with, good morning. So earlier today on our Sunrise program, my colleague Mark, she was reading the papers and she got to a part that talked about the cooking gas price slashing, yes. And she got so excited. Unfortunately, I'm the same, because we deal with these things directly.
Of course.
But it hasn't trickled down yet.
It hasn't necessarily trickled down with something we've just heard about today as well. The last time I bought cooking gas, the 12.5 kg was about 9.3. So if they're saying it's dropping now to about 6,000, which is a huge drop, it's obviously welcome.
We're saying if it was a hike now, they would have implemented it. But now, because I still called my gas man this morning and he told me it's 9,000.
Yes.
I don't see much of a difference.
Yeah, but
yet.
People are suffering. So any price drop for businesses, I don't think it's naturally welcomed for the consumers. But when you're talking about businesses spreading that kind of news, I don't think it's great for them. But all in all, it's just showing that cooking gas prices is reflective of demand and supply, situation, or the market conditions currently. And obviously last year we had seen prices peak because of the fact that there was little supply. There was also the dollar issue that was feeding onto prices because we import a certain amount of our, LNG produce as well. So now that you're seeing supply stabilize, it's natural that translates into prices. And I know most people are also saying that this should be the trajectory for petrol as well. And that's what, some of the regulators have been mentioning, although now nobody is seeing that because it's really biting hard. But we're hopeful that obviously in the few, maybe not months, because that's being very optimistic, but when prices stabilize, the market forces stabilize, and regulators make sure that there's no collusion amongst, some of those marketers, then, it's natural for the prices to drop. We've seen that with diesel price. We've also seen that with jet fuel prices. Currently, I think diesel price is about 670, 700 naira per liter, which is great for us. So going forward, it's just that obviously now it's trying times for many Nigerians, but we do hope that going forward, the market forces brings down the prices, especially when supply stabilizes.
Yeah, because the NNPCL has promised us that there'll be more suppliers, and I believe if it's a market that is profiting, there'll be business people who'll be interested in importing.
Of course.
Even before Dangote, even though Dangote is supposed to come in just next month.
Of course.
But you can
increase competition as well.
Yes, you can also have business people even get from Dangote.
Yes.
You understand, for local domestic consumption. That will saturate the market and bring down the price.
So like I mentioned, it's just a matter of time for the market to naturally stabilize, and we find where our supplies are coming from, and what happens with demand going forward. And then we can even see in Nigeria the peak periods for demand for petrol, and the off-peak periods as well, because I don't think that has been the case because of the regular scarcity and all of that we had seen in the market. So it's a good time for us, although we had mentioned petrol subsidy has to go. It's unfortunate that the way the government has gone about it hasn't been great, but all in all it has to go, and we have to face the realities.
So we have to face it one way.
We definitely do.
Whether
or not it should have been implemented, in the past 15 years or whatever, but now that we have actually done it, it's just time to move forward and
let's face the music. It's funny how when we got the videos from 2012, 2014, I think,
when the country was really big,
when there were a lot of protests. I remember during the administration of President Jonathan, when he was serious about getting it off.
Yes.
And then you had people who are in power today fighting it, and today they are the ones preaching the gospel of removing subsidy.
It.
Sometimes it just makes you laugh, but these are the realities that we have to face. Sometimes you don't just condemn other people's because they're opposition party or something.
I think now they're pressed to remove it, and that's just because we've had the effect of COVID, we've had the effect of the war. The budget is not the same. Funding the budget is not the same as it was before. It's becoming very hard to source for funds. So I guess that's why, they've been put in a tight spot and make sure that, they look for ways, or the trade-offs of this subsidy. You can't keep funding for consumption. You need to fund for production and, ways to increase our growth levels within the country. And I think that it's just that their hands are tied at the moment.
And they have to face reality.
And they have to face reality.
Well, we got carried away with that. But I mean, we can't go without talking about this OPEC cuts.
Yes.
I mean, Nigeria agreeing to that. I'm like, we have not even met with our original quota, and we're agreeing to cut again.
I know.
Maybe it's not going to affect us anyway.
I know the argument, you know, for Nigeria, the argument behind it, I don't think would have, you know, worked, in the sense that for the past how many months we have failed to meet, in fact, years now, we have failed to meet our quota, and it doesn't seem realistic for them to keeping a quota at about 1.7, and, you know, we're still producing at about 1.3 or even less than that. So I think the argument for Nigeria didn't work out this time. But I know going forward, because the OPEC does meet regularly, so it's not set in stone. We know that obviously for next year, they've imposed that, you know, our production should be about 1.3 from January to December. But it's something that can change, especially if we can prove that we can increase our supply. And all in all, most of these OPEC plus producers, they consider the producers first anyways. So trying to increase our production to a certain level, I don't think is something that, you know, they would frown upon. But all in all, Saudi Arabia has decided to cut by
theirs. Yes. Imagine when we can't even meet up with theirs.
Yes.
They're cutting theirs by $1 million.
Yes, because, you know, the budget that they have right now is based on price at $75 to about $80 per barrel. So it's very important and very
that they make it
very,
you know,
crucial.
They tighten supply to make it work.
Exactly.
I hope one day we'll be able to do that.
I hope so too.
Thank you so much. We really have to go now to go to the market now. Bolanle Agbaje, senior analyst with financial derivatives. Thank you for your time.